I'll be back later for Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a webinar overview. So first, we're just going to start with reviewing ArcGIS notebooks in ArcGIS Online and the new capability to create custom web tools from notebooks. And then we're going to review the analysis widget in Experience Builder, and that's going to be used to access the custom web tool within our application. And then a demonstration of how to set up a custom web tool in ArcGIS Online using notebooks. So just an overview on notebooks. ArcGIS Notebooks, it provides a platform to create and run Python scripts. So notebooks are easily shareable and allow for visualization of data within the platform. It utilizes a Jupyter notebook format where code cells can be run in any order and the output viewed below the cell. So for this example, this is actually in ArcGIS Online, but I have a print statement, and then as you can see right below it, if you run that cell, you can see the output right there within the notebook. And so as of June 2024, notebooks can be used to create web tools in ArcGIS Online. And then these notebook web tools can be run in Map Viewer, Experience Builder, and other web applications. And so to bring in these custom web tools into Experience Builder, we're going to use the analysis widget. And so the analysis widget comes with the spatial analysis tools, raster functions, and geoprocessing tools. So these are tools that are pre-canned and just come right in with the analysis widget, which is really awesome. And so some examples of these tools are creating buffers, find hotspots, calculate density. And then you can also add a custom one from AGO and tools published with notebooks, which is what we're going to be doing today. So just a little demonstration overview. We're going to review the Python script, and the Python script takes a hosted feature layer as an input and then populates a field with unique identifiers and makes sure that that field has unique IDs and there's no null values. And then we're going to upload this notebook to AGO, and then we're going to configure the parameters and test the notebook in ArcGIS Online, and then publish the notebook as a web tool and configure the analysis widget in Experience Builder to use that custom web tool. So I have some links and resources which we'll share. The first one is a Esri blog that came out when they came out with this functionality, and so they have a notebook that actually kind of goes through some of this process as well, and was really helpful. And then I just have some documentation on notebooks and web tools and the analysis widget. All right, so we're going to start with just looking at kind of the final product of what we're going to be doing today. So I have this Experience Builder app that I've set up, and I have some 4 layers in here. I have a section and some different views. So we have a table view showing us all of the tables for our different layers. And then in here in the map view, I have this is the analysis widget over here. And then this is what our tool is going to look like. So once we've set up and published the web tool, it's going to look like this, where we can select one of these different layers to run our script on. So that's kind of what we're going to be working towards today. And so now I'm going to go over here and oops. So just kind of starting from the beginning of like, this is kind of where I started, at least when I was doing this process, is that I usually write all of my code within Visual Studio Code. So that's where I wrote this script, and I tested it first here. And so I have this function, which we'll go over a little bit more in detail in a second. And then I have here I'm logging into ArcGIS Online, and I was testing on a hosted feature layer using a URL. So since I was in Visual Studio Code, I had to manually have the credentials in here to log in and test. But then from here, you can bring in your script into ArcGIS Pro. So Pro has notebooks. You can create and import them in. So if we're just looking at a map, like right now, I can do insert and then do insert notebook to create one. So that's what I did here. And then I just copied and pasted my code into these code cells and kind of reformatted it a little bit. Um, and there's different ways to do it. This is just one option in Pro. And just to go over the actual script a little bit more in detail, I have this function that is basically going in and taking a hosted feature layer that's published in ArcGIS Online. And then it's running a script where all of these four layers that I have set up here, they all have an asset name field, which is an ID field that's supposed to be unique, and they're all supposed to have one, and they all have a preset prefix. So like water valves, it's WV. So this script is going in and checking to make sure that all the features have a ID, that there's no duplicates, and that they have the correct prefix. So that's kind of the overview of what the script's actually doing. I'm not going to go too much into detail of how this works, but that's kind of the overall view of it. And then I have this dictionary, which we're going to see later in later steps, which has keys as the layer names, and then the value is the actual URL to that is for the hosted feature service. So going from Pro, we're going to head over now to ArcGIS Online. So there are a few ways to bring in notebooks and create notebooks in ArcGIS Online. You can do what I did, which is I kind of brought it into Pro, and then I saved that file and uploaded it to ArcGIS Online. Another option is to go to the Notebooks tab in ArcGIS Online, and you can just create a notebook here. So another option could have been that I could have just, brought in my code and put it in here. I could have written it here and tested. You can do everything within ArcGIS Online within their notebook editor. So this is what opens up when you just open up a new notebook, and how. So here they automatically give you code that will log you into your ArcGIS Online. So in my Visual Studio Code, when I was working on it, I had to provide credentials, but here they can just log me in as the user I'm logged in right now. So if I run this cell, we'll see that it's going to come back with me being logged in as myself. And then if I were to save this, we're going to see some more options. And one thing to note, if you are in ArcGIS Online and you aren't able to open a notebook in this view, then you just need to make sure that your permissions and privileges for your ArcGIS user are set to create and publish tools and notebooks. So once you have that, you should be able to open it. And then here you'll see these parameter and publish tabs. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. And again, if you don't see these, that's a privilege issue. You just need to make sure that you have the correct privileges to publish a web tool. All right, so I'm going to go back to content, and I'm going to show you how I brought in the script that I had written. So I did just bring in a new item, and then I go to File Explorer where I have that Pro project, and I have this saved as a Jupyter notebook file, the upload asset ID script. So I can just bring this right in to AGO. I'm going to give it a new name. So we'll bring this in, and then we'll be able to open it and basically see the exact same script that we just saw in Pro, but in ArcGIS Online. All right. So we have the script here now. And I'm just going to go over a little bit more detail of, again, how the script is working. So I have this function that's running through that field to make sure that everything's unique, that it has the right prefix, and that there's no duplicate IDs in that field. But in order to do that, we have to make sure that we're directing it to the right hosted feature layer. So I'm going to be giving the user who's functioning with the tool 4 layers that they can run this on. And I have that in a Python dictionary. And so I'm going to be passing through this dictionary here into my function. And then I'm going to have user input variable that's going to be the HFL key. So it's going to be one of these values that the user will select. And then using that dictionary and the key value that's passed through my function, we're going to be able to figure out which hosted feature layer to actually run the script on. So to set that up, we're going to go to our parameters down here, and we're going to add a input parameter. So we could add an output, but for this use case, we don't need an output. So I'm going to make sure that this variable name is going to be the same as the variable name that I have set up for my function. Okay. We're going to have the update name be update layer. So that's what the user will see. We can keep it as a string because I have string values in my dictionary. I'm going to have the parameter be required. That's just because we need a layer to run the script on. And then now for the choice list, this is where we're going to have the actual options for the user to select which layer they want to run this on. So I'm going to copy my dictionary keys into here. I'm going to make sure I'm copying and pasting because I just want to make sure that they are an exact match. If they're not, then we're going to get an error. So we'll just copy these. Okay. So now we have our options in here. And then I'm going to make the default value blank. And that's just kind of a placeholder just to make sure that if someone were to try and run it without selecting a layer, it's going to run blank and nothing, it won't actually run because of that. But I'm going to save my parameter now. So now I have it set up here, and then I could insert that variable right into my script. So if I insert it, now I have it right here. That HFL key, the default value is blank. So now I can actually run this. And so to run each cell, I'm clicking Shift and Enter. So that'll just automatically run the cell. So I'm just going to go through and run each cell. Okay, so I've run all the cells and it's come back. The hosted feature layer key is not defined. And so, and that's because we have blank as the default value. And so that's not one of the dictionary values. So that's what we would expect. But now if I were to put in one of these values, which is what if the user were selecting water system valve, then that is what this variable would be and what would run through the script. So before we run it though, I just want to show you, this is the water valves layer. So for testing purposes, if you go down to the bottom, we have some null values in this asset name field. So when we run the script, what it should do is it should populate these features with a water valve ID that has the correct prefix and a unique number. So let's see if we run the script, if it will work. So I'm going to rerun this cell, and then I'm going to rerun the main function. So now we can see it's actually running. It's found that old asset name here is null. It's found that the prefix is WV, and the highest asset number is 617. So it's populating some new assets IDs. So if I go over here and refresh, we should see that the script has worked and that every feature in this feature class has been updated. So I just need to go and get this asset name column to see it. Okay, and then now if I go down to the bottom, they are all populated as expected. So the script has worked. We've tested it. So now we're ready to actually publish it as a web tool. So to publish, we're just going to go to the Publish tab. I'm going to name it ID webinar, give it a description, and then we'll actually just publish it. Actually, though, before I publish it, I'm going to change this back to blank and I'm going to save it. All right, so now I'm going to publish. So this is going to publish the actual web tool to ArcGIS Online, where then we can bring that tool into Experience Builder. So once you've published, you can make edits to this and save, and you can overwrite your web tool. So that's always an option. But if we go to our content, we're going to see now that we have this new tool here. So this is what we'll actually bring into our app. All right, so now we're going to head over to Experience Builder. So here I have that same app that we saw earlier, but this doesn't have the analysis widget. So we're just going to add that. So I'm going to go over here to Insert Widget and type in analysis. Drag and drop it. All right. So this is where we have a lot of tool options you can add here. So we have the spatial analysis tools, like the create buffers. You get a whole bunch of tools that come with this widget, which is really awesome. Same with raster functions. Really helpful tools. A lot of things that we would have normally done in Pro that now we can do within Experience Builder. And then, so for our case, we're going to be doing the custom web tool. And then I'm going to add utility and go to my items and add this new script tool here. And add that in. And now we can configure the tool a little bit. So we know that the input's good. That's what I set it up to be in the notebook. We don't have a set output. And then for options, you can choose the message level. So I'm going to choose info. I like info because it will print out the statements that I have set up to print in my notebook, kind of like what we saw before. So, okay. So before we run it, I just want to go over to show you what it looks like before we run it. So over here in our table view, I have that asset name field, which is what the script's going to be running on. And then if I go down to the bottom, we're going to see there's some empty rows. We also have a duplicate, and we have a prefix that doesn't match what it should be. So when we run it, that should resolve all of those issues. So if I go over here, we're going to see we have our options. So I'm going to select streetlights, and then I'm going to click run. So it does take a little bit longer to run in Experience Builder. So we're going to let it run. And while it's doing that, I just wanted to show you also in the web map, you do have the option, if you are over here, you can also run this tool within the web map. So I can go over to the analysis button over on the right and click tools, and we get all the same tools that we saw in Experience Builder you can run here. And then we can also open a custom web tool. So I'm going to choose the one that we just created, select a task, hit confirm, and then now we have that same exact tool right here. And so we're getting these four options. I also just want to clarify that I do have these same layers in the web map, but even if I was on a different web map and I didn't have any layers in it at all, we'd have these options because we set it up with the notebook to have that dictionary and to have that choice list, which is giving us these options. So if we go back to Experience Builder, still running, we'll just keep letting it run. Something else I also wanted to touch on. I've touched on this on other previous webinars, but in Experience Builder, I do have the map view and the table view. So that's a section widget. And so that is what I'm using. I'm using buttons to go between the map view and the table view. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I do have other webinars that go over kind of how to set up an Experience Builder application. Okay, this tool is taking a little bit of time to run. Demo demons getting in the way, but
We got a couple of questions, Haley, if you want to
okay,
grab some of
sure.
those. Maybe some quick ones here. First one, is this not applicable for Experience Builder for Enterprise? I don't see a Notebooks tab when I log into my portal.
I believe it is applicable. I'm for what I was reading, I think that you could actually the capability to use the notebooks as a tool in Enterprise was came before ArcGIS Online. So
Hmm.
that might be that might be a permissions error because I had an issue with ArcGIS Online where I couldn't see the notebook tabs until I was given the correct privileges to see it. But I can look into that just to make sure I'm not just
Yeah,
spewing that out.
sure. And then we've got a couple questions. I'll kind of maybe combine. I've had multiple people basically asking about credits. Does this
Mhm.
require credit usage? On average, how many credits? Is there someone asked like, do custom web tools allow for ed estimates before running the tool? Credit usage? Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so I know that for other tools, oh, it ran. Well, we'll go over this too after I look at this, but um, it does give you an estimate credits for the tools that they have on here. As far as I know, this custom web tool hasn't been taking credits. It hasn't given me an estimate credit for that. Probably should check on that. But so let's take a look now just at the completed script that we have here. So it succeeded with warnings. And we have here, the only reason it has a warning is just it's warning me that I have an administrator role. And then if I go down here, we have our print statements. So it did find that the light prefix didn't match. It found our null values and it converted them so that now everything in our table should have the correct prefix and a unique identifier. And since we're kind of running low on time, I do want to show what we were just talking about with that estimate credit. So if I go to the spatial, um, if I add a spatial analysis tool, I can add, where is it? The create buffers. So I can actually just add this pre-can tool here, click live view, and then I can select one of the layers that I have in my map, do streetlights, and then I can do the distance values. So if I do, let's say like 5 miles, and then I give it a name, and then here is where it gives you the estimate credits. So I can estimate these and see how much it will cost. Um, Yeah, so it
The
doesn't give you
same.
that option for your custom web tool, which made me think that it did not have credits that it was using. But so if I run this, oh, I already have a layer with this name.
So I think you might answer a question while you're doing that. Someone else asked, could I create a custom buffer from a click using this method?
From a from clicking
Click using this
on the web map.
method. Yep.
Not that I'm aware of. I think I've only tested it with this create buffers tool of just putting in kind of like the distance and it runs it on all of the features. I'm not sure if it's sophisticated enough for you to really maybe if you were to select using like the select widget, it would then just run it on your selection. Um, I'm not totally sure on that, but when you do run this, what it is creating a hosted feature layer, a new hosted feature layer from this right into your content. So if I go over here and go to my content, even though it's still running, we'll actually see that this test buffer layer does show up here. And then it will also add it to the web map here. So again, it takes a little bit to run, but yeah, the analysis widget is really cool where they have so many tools that you can add right in here that anybody could use. And then you can also add your custom ones, like what we saw.
Great. If you got a few minutes, we've got more questions coming in, so
Sure.
see what we can get to.
Oh,
Let's
and also
see.
the buffer worked. I
Yeah.
think I might have put a too big of a value on that.
So
Okay.
let's see. More question about credits. So will it build credits just like running a notebook will? Will it?
I
Yeah, as in number of credits.
yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Um, let's see. Are there any performance limitations or best practices for running computationally intensive scripts through Experience Builder?
I haven't seen any best practices as far as like Esri documentation that I've found, but I have seen that it does take a little bit longer to run an experience builder than it did like when we just ran it in the notebook. And so I'm not sure if that's because it's reaching out to the tool and then kind of running it through there or exactly why that's the case, but that's just something that I've noticed as I've been testing this.
Yeah. Let's see. Other than changes to the feature table, are the script results from the notebook saved separately in any way? And similarly, can the output be saved to a simple file from the print statement in Python?
So you can look back on it. I haven't experimented with that. That is something I could look into. Um, I know when we're looking at the notebook, you can kind of get some usage snapshots. You can also set this up to be an automated task. Um, so I'm not sure exactly if you can set it up to print and like have a file that would have like a log file essentially. Um, yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Let's see. Sorry, give me one second. There's a lot of comments here. Can I create tools to reconcile and post in branched version data?
Um, so that would be on the enterprise side. I'm assuming that the tools would work on branch version data. I haven't tested this exact process in enterprise on branch version data. So that's something that could look into testing, but I'm assuming it would work similarly.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more. Is there a way to adjust the script to dynamically read in the feature services within the web map so they don't have to edit the dictionary for reusing the tool?
Yeah, I think that there could be a way to do that because I know, I mean, right here, like how these tools are working is that it's looking at the web map. Um, so I'm assuming there could be a way to do that. I set it up this way just because I only needed like these four layers that were requested to have this. And so having the dictionary made sense, but I think that there are ways to pull it from the web map, especially since that's what a lot of these tools are doing, is that it gives you the option to actually pull from your map layers.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we're going to wrap it up there, folks. We appreciate the feedback. Some good comments in here. Thank you very much. Haley, if you want to go ahead and just throw that last slide on there just with the contact info, and I'll kind of wrap things up.
Mhm.
All right, so perfect. So yeah, everyone, again, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for participating. A great interaction. Love the comments, the questions. If there's anything we didn't really get to, please do not hesitate to contact us, cloudpointgeo.com/contact. And for that matter, we do these obviously free to educate, but also kind of show off, show what we're capable of. So if there's something your organization needs help with, also get a hold of us there. Love to meet with you, talk and see if there's a way that we can help you guys out. Like I said, we record these, so give me a little bit of time since I have to do this now. My marketing coordinator's not here to get things cleaned up and posted to YouTube. But we'll try to get that link sent out to everybody. And of course, we're all over social media, so you can follow and subscribe and like us there as well. But again, thank you very much for attending today. Sign up for more webinars, and we hope to talk to you all again really soon. Thanks a lot, everybody.